3D You Make My Heart Sing acrylic nail art tutorial by Hot Pink Zebra Polish. Hi guys, in today's video I am going to be showing you a really cute little design that is You Make My Heart Sing. So it says You Make My above it, and then there's a heart that is wrapped in some sheet music, and then below it says Sing. So this is, I just love the way this turned out. I love music. I love the whole thing of this. I like the concept a lot too. So I hope you guys like it as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well. So to start with, I'm going to begin with a very glittering pink overlay background. This is one of those colors of acrylic that I have because this is a premix and I always forget I have it, and then every time I use it I'm like, oh, why do I forget about this? It's gorgeous. So as soon as I thought of this as the background of this nail, I was so happy. And then I'm going to encase it with a layer of clear acrylic just to make sure that it is nice and strong, and especially when you're doing something with glitter in the background, I just like to use some clear acrylic to protect it. Even if it isn't a type of glitter that is going to file and get all scratchy looking, it's just nice because glitter is innately a little bit less strong. So you need to add some clear on top of it just to strengthen it as well. Then I'm going to file it into shape with my E-file, starting with a pretty coarse bit to remove any bulk, and then switching over to a finer bit to smooth out the surface texture and make it easier to sculpt and to paint on. Especially with something like this where you're painting so much little words like that, you want to have a really, really smooth base to be working on. So even if you do have an E-file bit like the one I used, you may want to go through and use a buffer block to buff it anyway, if that is something that you would be, considering. So then I'm going to take a really nice red acrylic and I'm going to be sculpting the little heart, but you need to leave a space before the tip of the nail so that you have room to write Sing or to paint Sing. So just paint your heart, but leave that gap there, just like so. So your heart, I did it in 3 beads. I did the first one where I made sure that I got the point nice and sharp and symmetrical, and then I went through and I did a little bit more with 2 beads of red acrylic, or 1 bead for each of the bumps on the top. So then on a nail form backing, I'm going to sculpt my nice long piece of sheet music. So just place down a bead of white acrylic and then begin pressing it and pulling it out to the sides to make a very long rectangle. And I actually did both strands of my music with one initial sculpting here because, as you'll see in a moment, I cut it up so it got into the multiple pieces, but just keep pressing it and flattening it and stretching it and evening it out until it, until you're happy with the shape. And then I have this really nice little flat blade. It's from an X-Acto knife set, and it's just a nice little cutter. So I'm just going to take and get rid of the uneven ends and then cut it right in half with that. Dip your little blade into some clear acrylic or white acrylic so that it doesn't stick to your little piece of sheet music, but other than that, that works really well. I ended up having to cut mine again because it resealed itself. But then pick those up, flip them over so that the smooth side is down, and then place them on the nail. That one I ended up just grabbing with my fingers, which you can do if you're wearing a glove like I am. But then use your little blade to trim them on the side. So the first one gets trimmed so it kind of looks like it's wrapping around on one side of the nail, and the other one gets trimmed on the opposite side. And it doesn't really matter which way you go with it, just as long as it looks like it's wrapping around your heart. So there you go. And then I'm going to be taking and I'm going to be adding little teeny tiny stripes on my music for the lines of the sheet music. So your goal is to get 5 lines in there. So I started out with a line in the center, and then I added my other 2 on either side of it. However, because this is so tiny, if they aren't perfect, nobody's actually going to go and start counting your lines to make sure that you have the proper proportions and everything for your music. As long as it looks good, you're good. Don't worry about it. It's not really that particular. But just go through and add as many little lines as you can fit into your sheet music. And I have another nail that is very similar that I did a couple years ago that was piano, that had sheet music or music wrapping around the tip of the nail. It was a stiletto, and it looked so cool. And that was kind of when I started to conceptualize this design, I was like, oh, I should have the heart wrapped in music like I did with that nail because I really liked it. So I will put a link to that video in the description box below if you guys are interested in music fans like I am. I don't actually know how to play any instruments very well, but I do sing on occasion. So I know fairly well how to read music. And I guess I did play the oboe for a while in 6th grade. So that's my instrument playing background. And then after I have that, you can go ahead and add your music notes in there. And if you want to do an actual song, if you guys want to get that fancy with it, go ahead. That would actually be awesome and something really cool to have on there. Be like, hey, guess what? You can play this song. I didn't. I just did random notes. But then above that, you're going to want to paint You Make My, and you can do this however you like. I decided to do it in 3 different lines, so You in the top, then Make below that. And as you can see, when I'm painting my words, I start out in the middle of the word and work my way out. So for You, I started with the O, then added the U after it and the Y before it. For make, since that is a 4-letter word and there isn't a center letter, I started with the K just a little bit off center, went K-E, and then added the A-M before it. My, same thing, Y, then the M, just like that. And when you're doing this, I did a couple different writing styles just to kind of make it interesting, but if you want, you can just do the same thing. The other thing you can do is, if you, depending on how big the letters are and what you're doing, if you struggle to write with a brush, you can always write with a Sharpie. So if you get one of those ultra fine point Sharpies, you might want to do some testing with your top coats to see what works and what doesn't work, but you can use a Sharpie instead. So that is something that I guess I never really considered until just recently, but that would be an option if that was something that you would be interested in. So then I applied some gel sealer over the background, cured it, a matte top coat over my music, and this nail is all done. I think this is just awesome, and it definitely lends itself to being a full set of different things that go with it. Please share any recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to see them, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!